Welcome back, folks. My office is packed right now. I've got radios up the wazoo here. All right, let's take it from the top. This radio here is a Mazda sensory sound system by Pioneer, and it's for the 1993 limited edition model. These are my specialty. In fact, I've got two that I finished and they're ready to ship. They're over here. This is what they look like when I'm done with them. They almost look brand new, don't they? I'm the only guy in the world right now restoring those radios. The only one. So if you've got one of these and you want it fixed, drop me a comment. We'll get in touch. This is what they typically look like when they come in the door. Really nasty. And this is how they look when they leave. Not only that, but they come in with broken CD players, broken cassette decks. Sometimes the sound doesn't come out of one channel, but it comes out the other. Sometimes the volume is really low, and I've figured out how to fix most of those issues. So they usually leave in way better shape than they came in. One of these radios was actually sent to a repair shop in California, and it still has their tag about a year ago. And they got the amplifier to work, and I reverse engineered what they did, and I figured out what they did to fix it. So thanks, guys. It turns out there's just a couple of bad transistors. Anyway, so they fixed the amplifier, but the CD player and cassette deck, they didn't even try. So I was able to repair those without any issue. I do a lot of those, and they're all pretty routine. In addition to that, they've all been upgraded or modified with Bluetooth, so you can listen to your smartphone or your iPod wirelessly through the radio. It sounds crystal clear. There's no interference from the local FM transmitters. It's not a transmitter. It connects directly to the internal amplifier, and it sounds really clean. I do a lot of those, and I've had 100% success with them. Doesn't work as a smartphone, though. I mean, it doesn't work as a hands-free phone. That does not work. And the only reason it doesn't work is the modules that I have, which I've chosen for very specific characteristics. They do not have a microphone, so they cannot act as a hands-free system. You can hear the other person, but they cannot hear you. So caveat emptor, buyer beware. That's what I offer. But anyway, Oreo just took my seat, as he often does. Now this radio is the same deal, same spiel, same mods, same repairs, but I have to reassemble that. I've been waiting for the clear coat on the faceplate to dry. I think I'm at a point where the hardness is good enough to where I can start assembling. But this is how the faceplates come when they're just out of my paint shop. This has got the clear coat on it. And these decals, by the way, I made myself. They're printed using a color laser printer. And that's for fade resistance, durability. And they're applied on a water slide decal, which is then covered with at least 3 coats of a catalyzed clear coat. The stuff is tougher than nails, tough as nails. The only problem and the only way to really resolve this is to come up with a silk screening process, but that's too expensive. But there is a little bit of you can kind of see the outline of the decals. It bothers me, but there's not a lot I can do about that. But as far as the overlays, those are professionally produced in a professional print shop out of polycarbonate. So when those are applied, you're going to see, wow, stunning. So as I was saying, I got more stereos. These just showed up. I've been kind of waiting for these. This one over here, I've never worked on one of these, so I might do a video on this one. This is for the 96. This is the MSS. Well, we'll just call it the MSSS2. I thought these came in silver. I know some did, but this one's in black. I've never seen one of these before. It's kind of chunky looking, but these have a problem. And the reason this is here is for two things. I believe it needs a cassette deck service, but it also needs a rotary encoder. These use a digitally controlled volume control. Really, there is no... See, these have an analog volume control. There's actually a... this is actually from an earlier Pioneer, similar to the Panasonic, but there is a potentiometer. There's actually a series of potentiometers in this switch bank right here, and they're all controlled by these posts. Now, what they did on this model is they eliminated all the analog controls and they made them all digital. But with digital, it's looking for an up or a down signal, basically a push button. Now, what's happened here is they've figured out a way, and this is common in a lot of electronics, even today. They're simulating the rotary motion of a dial electronically, and the device is called a rotary encoder, and it senses the amount of rotational distance, the amount it's rotated, and the direction it's rotated in. So it can sense whether it's being turned this way or this way, clockwise or counterclockwise. And what happens is those rotary encoders, as they age, they die and they no longer function. One of the symptoms is you'll rotate the volume control and it'll just jump all over the place. Or the tuner. Actually, this one doesn't appear to be a rotary encoder. This appears to be an actual potentiometer. That's kind of cool. What'll happen is the volume control will just jump sporadically up or down. Sometimes it doesn't do anything at all, I think, when they're finally dead. So in this radio, we're going to replace that rotary encoder. I can still get that part. So I've just got to go order it. But I want to verify that it is indeed faulty before I do that. This radio, this is just another Panasonic. There's, I believe, 2 different models. And I believe the model split indicates whether or not it has a power antenna lead. The earlier ones did not have a power antenna lead. And this one, I think, is a later one. Does it have a production date on it? I'm not seeing one. So I don't know how old this one is. It could be a 90, 91, 92. This radio actually belongs to somebody who is a producer for a very large and well-known, we're talking millions of subscribers, YouTube channel that deals with automotive-related events, current events, and pop culture, tuning. The channel is, I can't remember the name of the channel, but it has to do with a round common breakfast pastry. I usually eat them. I can't remember what they're called though, but that's where this is from. So, turns out my name was bounced around a Southern California Miata enthusiast club. So I'm just kind of psyching myself up. Maybe I'll get more business from them. So I better treat them well. No, in all honesty, I treat all of my customers with the same level of service. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they do. This guy who will someday be a million times wealthier than me, he's going to get the same treatment as this guy who's just fixing up an old car for his daughter. And that's pretty much it. That's how I roll. I don't care if Jay Leno sends me a stereo. Okay, if Jay Leno sends me a stereo for repair, okay, he might get the red carpet treatment, but everybody gets the same level of service, regardless of who they are, what kind of car it's going into. I don't care. I treat all of my customers fairly. And if you have any issues with anything I've done, I want you to contact me before you go anywhere else, because I feel that it's important to maintain a positive relationship with my customers, even if I lose money on the deal. Because at the end of the day, what am I without customers? Just a guy with a bunch of expensive equipment that he doesn't have a use for. So that's my comment for the day. Let's dive in to this radio, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this one and get it in the shipping lane over there, which eventually there's going to be a rack on the other side of this door for outgoing stereos and incoming stereos. Got to get that sorted. I'm running out of floor space. This office is a freaking mess. Not only that, but it's also home to my vintage computer collection, and it's where I do all my live streams on YouTube. So it's just a fun time. Just a fun time to be alive. Now, let me go ahead and get this together. And what I want to do is I want to take this one apart, since I've never done one of these before. And we're going to see how hard it is to get to that rotary encoder. I'm going to order the part. If I determine it to be bad, I know it's bad, but I just want to check, make sure there's no water damage or anything. But these do go bad a lot on these, and they are. Look at that. It's bad. It's not supposed to do that. To quote a famous TikToker who does house inspections, it's not supposed to do that. So I'm just finishing up the testing on this radio. This thing sounds amazing. Better than I thought, actually. So I did find a few key things to look for in these radios. The more of these I work on, the more trends I find, the more problems I can whack. But I'm finding that some of these have dead capacitors in the tuner board. So this one definitely needed. This one needed probably the most amount of work out of all of these that I usually get in. There was one that shipped. It's actually the outgoing unit is one of those too, and it came with oil residue. I think I tossed it already, but it had oil residue throughout the chassis. Somebody must have tried to spray lubricant or something into it. It ruined it. There wasn't a single part I could save, because once oil is all over that board, first of all, I don't know what kind of oil it was. It smelled like motor oil. But I can't use any cassette deck parts because oil ruins the nylon gears. It can cause them to shrink. Can't use any of the mechanical parts. It was really a shame. So I actually built that gentleman a radio from my pile of scrap. In fact, it's one of those two over there. So I had to build him a complete radio from scratch. And like I said, I found a lot of bad capacitors. I've got a rack of... I have a hunch as to why these are all not putting out any sound. I think I know what the problem is, and I'll deal with that. But yeah, this thing is good to go. But look at that finish. Again, it's not factory, but you know what? It's good enough. I mean, you look at how these radios typically end up after 30 years, and I have this faceplate here as a stark reminder of that. I mean, this is what they typically look like when they come in, and this is what they look like when they leave my shop. And now you understand why people are willing to pay me in what I believe to be a fairly hefty sum to get these things fixed. Because, you know, the reason that these radios in particular, this model of radio, is so valuable is it's an integral part of some of the special edition Miatas. For example, the 93 limited edition black over red Miata is what these radios debuted in. And this is a key part. If you have one of those cars and you don't have this radio, any Miata collector or aficionado is going to look at that and know exactly what's missing. And that's why folks are really willing to pay to have these restored. Okay, those radios are now in my car, boxed and ready to go to FedEx. Okay, let's take a look at our next radio. And as part of that, he wants it to have the factory stereo. So let's see what we can do with this thing. Let's see what the problems are and what can or cannot be fixed. Okay, right off the bat, I got nothing. Oh, I do have... Okay, this is important to note. All right, looks like we got some lights out here. Specifically, the display lights are out. It's also possible that they could be controlled differently And my wiring harness is done a little bit differently. There's a lighting circuit that's not used on the early NA8 cars that this is probably looking for. So turn it on. You get nothing. Oh, here we go. Tune track. Okay, so we have that going on. 7, 8, 9. It doesn't have a code warning here. FM1. There's no volume at all. At all. Nothing. Press the illumination light. That turns the lighting on and off. Okay. No volume at all. This is your this button here is the open close button, or the yeah, there's a similar button to this on the MSSS1 stereo. This is I gotta look up in my guidebook as to what exactly stereo this really is, but we're gonna gamble on this and we're gonna order the part. It's $75. Let's take it apart. So there's no guarantee that rotary encoder is going to fix this one, because I don't know if there's other issues. But I do know that it is a known problem on these radios. Is a huge problem on these radios. Okay, so there's our CD player. Now this is a completely different mechanism. Let's see if it plays CDs. Now I'm going to go ahead and fire it up again. I want to see if that CD player actually works. You know, there's nothing about this radio that is like its grandpappy, the silver stereo, as we'll call it colloquially. Okay, I'm gonna pop a CD in there, and I'm gonna actually, let's put a cassette in there first. I'm curious. It loads. It's running. No sound. No backlighting. Okay. Does it eject? It does. Does the CD player work? Now, the thing is, with the CD player, if it spins and it can advance and retard tracks, then it's good. When they fail, generally they will not even spin the disc, because the laser doesn't see its shadow. It's like the freaking groundhog. Okay, a little sluggish on the load. It's spinning. It's trying. It's trying. No, it's gonna fail. I think we might be able to fix her. Alright. Let's see if it ejects. Yeah, it's not doing it. Alright. We've got a few opportunities here. A few things we can look at. Okay, let's kill it. And let's dig in. Might as well leave that plugged in. Alright, I want to pull the faceplate off. So the knobs, I think, have to come off first. Poor thing. That rotary encoder is done for. And look at this plastic. This wasn't originally yellow. This plastic would have been white. So that definitely does detract from the overall appearance. There's nothing we can do for that. I'm going to tell the guy that maybe we can fix it, maybe we can't. All right, let's see. We got, oh yeah, a couple of lights here, a little illumination there. So totally different design from what we're used to seeing. Totally different design. And there's our rotary encoder right there. We know it's dead. It would have to be. This part right here, it's just shot. Now, there's been cases where folks have tried to clean these, or they've injected them with WD-40. It's not a pretty thing. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. That's not going to help your case. I need to pull the CD mech out. Yeah, this is a clean slate, complete clean slate redesign from its predecessor. Clean slate. Not one part is similar. I mean, if you've seen any of my videos of taking those apart, nothing about these is even close to the same. As for impregnating it with Bluetooth, I am exploring that as we speak. For the most part, to inject a Bluetooth module inside, we've got to take advantage of an auxiliary port or auxiliary jack that, in this case, doesn't exist. While I'm in here, I'm going to look at all of these capacitors and check them for any leakage. I'm looking for discoloration on the solder pads. And so far, so good. I don't see any residue, no signs of any real leakage. So that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. It's the first thing we check for. A little battery here. That's probably dead. I see what looks like potentially burned tracers here. I'm not sure I like that. They look like they may have gotten hot. It's the only spot like that on the board. But that could just be coincidence. Laser assembly, the CD player, it has these little aluminum SMD caps. Normally we want to replace those, but they're not leaking at all, so we're going to leave them the hell alone. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to just bump the laser power, and I think that'll get it going again. But before I do that, let's try to get this amplifier working. That's going to be the challenge here. To do that, we're going to start with a new rotary encoder. And I'm going to just go ahead and try to find that part. I should be able to just look at the part and actually find the original supplier for it and maybe get a better price. But $75 for that one little part seems a little bit absurd to me. Because a lot of these are just off-the-shelf components that are used in a variety of electronics. So we're going to try to see if we can find some identifying info on that. And that should be it. We'll do a relamp on this. Hopefully it uses the same bulbs as its grandpappy, because I got those in stock. Probably have to order some anyway. Okay. Well, we're going to clean up this faceplate too. Absolutely. I'll be able to make this, I'm hoping to make this look brand new again. This is really rotten looking. So we'll work on that. By we, I mean me. All right. Obviously. So here's our rotary encoder, and you can see it is just shithouse. VR901. Let's desolder this guy. Let me warm up my desoldering iron. We'll take it off the board and get a closer look at it and see if we can identify what it is. Hoping that I can find a cheaper source. Now this is an analog rotary pot, and this is used for tone control. So it looks like they used a little bit of digital, a little bit of analog. Strangely enough. Yeah, and these bulbs appear to be the same basic type and size as the other models. So getting the lighting back on this should be a breeze. There's a film on the display that's kind of delaminating a little bit. I'm not sure I like that. So let's see if this thing's up to temp. Yep. All right, let's pull that rotary encoder off. It's going to be, yep, okay. Anything clogging on me? thing clogs quite frequently. That's why it comes with a tool for that purpose. I think it's running slow. All right. Telling you, this tool was money well spent. I tell you what. Money well spent. I can't even express that in words. All right. You still need to use, you know, the old-fashioned surface soldering equipment sometimes, but that's okay. That being the standard iron, we'll turn this off. We're done with that. And we've got to untwist the twisties to dismount this component. All right, there we are. There we are. Will it come free? Oh, yeah, it's free. It's free, Mr. Granger. Okay, here we go. Let's put a part number, but this is what it looks like inside. Alps, Japan. So it's an Alps 645N, I think, and it's worn. Yeah, it's pretty nasty in there. 645N. Let me try to find that part. Let me try to get a good source for this. So Newark's got this part, potentially. I don't know what the factory specs of this. There's a few things you need to know. I know this has a momentary push switch, so I use that filter. I don't know the number of detents. I went ahead and ordered the factory part, which is $57. If I do another one of these, which I probably won't, but if I do, I'll probably seek out a cheaper option. But I don't want to start getting in the business of just buying random switches and trying them. The correct one, I'll be able to count the number of detents. This one, that mechanism is shot, so it doesn't actually have any detents. So I think at this point, we can just dissect this and see what's inside. But there is definitely an equivalent component out there that we can buy for a couple bucks. It's just going to take some doing to figure out exactly which one that's going to be. So let's dissect this one. It's no good anyway. I'm actually more curious than anything to see if I can even buy this part from Pioneer, because they say it's not in stock, but it will ship within 8 to 10 days. Some people have had luck cleaning these, but like I said, this is a fairly complex mechanism. This isn't like your normal volume switch, and cleaning it isn't going to do anything. At least not for a long period of time. It's not that these are dirty, it's that the LEDs that are used to count the revolution. So it works like, think of a mechanical mouse. A mechanical mouse has an X and a Y axis, and it uses a similar device, an optical sensor, to determine which direction those wheels are turning, how fast and how long. And that's what this does. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little optical switch. It's kind of cool how these work. I've looked it up. It's really sciencey and engineering, but it's kind of cool. Getting them apart is a challenge, but it can be done. I've had a lot of consumer electronics over the years that have had this problem, and I've simply discarded them because that's what the manufacturer wants you to do. Just throw it away. Yeah, okay, so you got, yeah, it is actually kind of dirty. It's full of shit. What's happened here is I'm seeing little bits of carbon that have disintegrated. This, by the way, this is the push switch. This section right here. The push switch is embedded in here. Okay. Now, the meat and potatoes of the rotary encoder section are in this side. But once I did, I mean, this one I'm going to have to, yeah, there we go. Oh, wow, this thing is disgusting. It looks like the, that's really bad. Oh. Let's see if I can get this apart. It looks like it broke internally. Yeah, it did. So this right here, this is the what allows it to click. This device here, okay, it rotates up against, it's like the edge of a coin. And this rotary contact is like the edge of a coin. And it has little bumps on it. And that's the detent part of it. How many of those? We'll have to count them. But the rest of the switch is just completely disintegrated. This is supposed to spin, but it doesn't, it no longer spins. It's broken free from the shaft. So that's why it doesn't work. So yeah, this is guaranteed to be the problem. The question is, what are the actual specifications here? So we need to make sure we get measurements on the shaft. I think the base is pretty standard sized. It's got a momentary contact. We've got to count the number of detents. I think we're actually counting these little fingers here. And this is not an optical, I'm sorry, this is not an optical switch like I thought it was. Some rotary encoders actually are optical. This is not. This is just a rotary contact. It's an encoder, but it's not an optical encoder. So I was wrong about that. I'm sorry. I know when I'm wrong. I was wrong. And there's your push button in the back. See, oops, now it's all gone. There's one little push button in there. Yeah, this thing is gonzo. No wonder it doesn't work. Fixable, but it's trash. So if we count the number of fingers on this wheel, I think we'll get to the number, what they call the resolution of the encoder, right? I think that's how that works. So let me mark one, so we'll count. If it comes up to 24, I might actually just buy one of those and cancel the order I just placed. Okay. Put a mark on that one. And let's see what we got. I tried finding a record on the forums, the Miata forums, of anybody who's tried an aftermarket rotary encoder. One guy did, and he said the shaft was wrong. The wrong dimensions. Some of these are custom made, all right? So let me hear me out. A lot of these are indeed custom made. So it might have an odd number of detents, or it might have a weird shaft size. And I think if we come close to this, we can modify it to fit. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 15 detents, or 15 fingers. Now, is that the resolution of this part? Is it double that? Is it 32? Wait, 30. 15 and 15 is 30. Product of public education. So it's either 30 or 15. I'm going to do some research on how to identify rotary encoder resolution. So, for now, we're just going to stick with the factory part, which will last the life of the car. I mean, it's lasted this long. It'll last another 25 years. Yeah. And we'll tell the customer that we can do a complete relamp. We'll fix that. We'll get them on the way. Should be able to fix the CD player too. I haven't looked at it yet. I think it's just going to be that minor adjustment that I often have to do on these. And I'm going to go ahead and clean this faceplate as best I can. I'm going to do it under water. I think I should take it apart, maybe. Yeah, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea. We'll take it apart. We'll clean everything. Make it good as new again. Fun times. Put this into a little bag so I have all these parts in one place. And that's that. Now I got one more radio we need to look at. All right, this next radio that I'm going to do, kind of an interesting situation. My name got bounced around a Miata club out in Southern California. I don't remember the name. It was some like Donuts and Burgers or something. In-N-Out, Donuts and Burgers, something like that. The idea is they drive from donut shop to burger joint, I guess. I guess they really love their calories. And I totally get that. I mean, I myself am something of a carbaholic, so. Let's take a look at what we got. That radio is over here. So, get this guy, I think we have a plan of action for him. This is going to be your typical Panasonic. Probably got 100 million broken solder joints. I don't like these. I've developed a kind of a hatred for these radios. But if we can give him a functioning unit with Bluetooth, he'd be a happy man. And like I said, yeah, this guy is he's going places. Let's say that. Making a name for himself, and I admire that. You know, we all should be ambitious. All right, this radio is a Panasonic. I don't like these Panasonics. This one belongs to a gentleman who is part of a Miata club out in Southern California. A fairly sizable one, as I understand it. And so if I can make this guy happy, I could be potentially getting a lot of business. Not that I'm not getting enough, because I'm getting quite a bit. But if I can make this one sing, put Bluetooth in it, it could be kind of a game changer. So a lot of weight on this one. I fixed a lot of these Panasonic. Sorry, I don't like them. I think I've said that enough. I do not like these because they're kind of poorly made, if I'm honest. But when they work, you know. They actually do sound pretty good. A working one doesn't sound bad. And you got to figure these are going in small, tiny little cars with tiny little speakers. I mean, how much can you really do with that? There's no room in a Miata for a subwoofer. I mean, who are you kidding? Yeah, there is. You can make room, but there's always room for subs. But let's fire it up. Okay. Surprisingly, I heard the cassette deck do a quick self-test. Let's turn it on. We have sound. I mean, that's something, right? Let me get it onto an FM station. We got one FM station without an antenna in this basement. All right, let me do a quick test. Of course, I fire this thing up and Stairway to Heaven starts playing. Odd timing, right? Anyway, okay. So far, so good. This thing actually does put out pretty strong sound. He wants Bluetooth. He wants lamps. I got to go back through the notes and see what he needed. And he definitely wants it cleaned up. No CD player. That's okay. With these units, I install the Bluetooth internally. With the CD player, since they never work and I can't fix them, I take the CD player guts out and I throw a Bluetooth module in its place. That's how I roll. But a unit like this one, we know that cassette deck doesn't work because they never work either. Again, there's, whatever. I think when Mazda put these in, they just imagined that they'd be getting replaced anyway. Okay, this one's got stuck gearing. Okay, I'm not even going to try it any further. That's something that I fix a lot of those. I fix a lot of these for that reason. So we'll get them. We'll get them happy. We'll get them good. I'm gonna send them a message. Say, hey, got your radio. Anyway, looks promising. Yep, a little bit of lighting. We'll do some polish the display, make it look good again. I polish these. The thing is, I can't get all the coating off, but what I can do is I use a couple of different methods to polish these up. I actually use motorcycle windshield polish on them, and that in conjunction with a buffing wheel on my drill press, I can usually get them looking pretty good. But his display, let me turn this light off here. You can actually see there's some bleeding going on there. So we're going to find him a different faceplate. And I've got plenty of those for this model. I think I do. I'm pretty sure I've got a couple of these that don't have that problem, and that's what we'll put in it. And then as I take it apart, we're going to have to kind of scan over the board with a magnifying glass and fix every broken solder joint she can throw at us, because I'm telling you, these radios suck. They suck. I'll work on them, but they suck. Alright guys, that's it for our video today. Thank you for watching, and if you have a Miata, regardless of year, anything up until the last of the NB generation, I don't touch the NCs. There's not really much in there for me to work on. But the old ones, I'm all about fixing those up, keeping them on the road as long as possible. And especially one like this. This is the MPSS, I believe. That's what this is called. The Mazda something sound system. It even has anti-theft, which is a neat feature that nobody wants. Nobody's stealing these yet. So it looks like it was in a smoker's car, if I'm honest. All right, so just tearing into our second radio here. And I want to show you guys something. This is what I see in a lot of these Panasonics, and this is what causes a lot of problems in these radios. And it has to do with very poor solder joints. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. All right, so this one right here, see that little ring right there? And here, and here, and here, and here. Those are broken solder joints. In fact, if I flex this connector a little bit, you're going to see some movement. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, I see it. Why these Panasonics have this problem, I don't fully understand. But you're going to find these almost anywhere there's a connector. This is the audio board. It controls the tone and volume. I don't see a lot of bad leaking capacitors in these. That doesn't seem to be the mode of failure that I'm finding. If they're bad, they're not leaking, but they could still be bad. So to fix those, let me show you what I do. Just had a gentleman from Germany ask me if I'd work on a radio for him, and I politely declined. I told him what he needed to do. I think he can handle it. What he describes to me is pretty much what I'm seeing here. You know, the funny part is this radio doesn't have any symptoms indicating broken joints. But I assure you, you hit a bump, you're going to have problems. You're going to hear it. It's going to skip out. This is a major problem with these, but it's an easy fix. The problem is, it's like playing whack-a-mole. You fix 2, you find 4. You fix 4, you find 8 more. And it just goes on and on and on like that. So whenever I find a connector that's affected like this, I'm just going to resolder the whole connector. Just going to... I suspect the bigger problem here is there's just, and I originally thought that maybe it was the fact that the holes were drilled too large. And I'm changing that to, they just didn't use enough solder. Whatever wave flow solder machine they were using just wasn't depositing enough solder. And I'm seeing a lot of suspect failures here, but just not enough solder to maintain a strong connection is what I'm thinking. You know, that is what I believe. For sure. Yeah, these look suspect, but I think they're fine. But the more we dig into it, the more of those we're going to find. For example, let's take the amplifier off. Now this radio, as I stated earlier, it belongs to a gentleman who is in the beginnings of what looks like a very promising career in video production, perhaps. And he's also part of a Miata club, and out in Southern California, and I'd like to get more business from these folks. I really would. They seem like good guys, and you know, figure if I do a decent job, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Who knows? But if you're in this kind of business, you want to try to find, or you want to try to, if you want to grow your business, you want to seek out clubs. Now, if you're in the automotive accessory business, which is pretty much what this is, those Californians, they love their cars. And this is the kind of stuff that they're looking for, I think. All right. Looking at the main harness connector, right here, my finger is, and I'm looking at pretty solid joints. Not too bad. Yeah, we're gonna grab a smaller diameter solder. We're gonna kind of lightly tack some of these too. Like this one looks like it might be ready to go. So we're just gonna give it a little tack. And I'm just gonna pour over it. And the thing is, you don't even need a magnifier to see these. Oh, there's one. You don't even need a magnifier to catch these. They are that obvious. They really are. And they're numerous. If you see one, you're going to see more. This one right here looks pretty weak. Yeah, like I said, I just don't think they used enough solder. That's my estimation right there. Now, because this one doesn't have a CD player attached to it, never did. This connector was never really used, so it didn't get a lot of stress. But I see the CD player. Now, if you've got a crack in the CD player connector, whether or not you've got a CD player connected, you're going to have audio cutting out on you because the audio passes through. With or without a CD player accessory, the audio passes through this plug. Now, what we do is we take this off, discard it, and I'm going to put a Bluetooth module on this. If I have any further trouble, I might pursue a recap on this radio. I don't think I'm going to need to do that. See, capacitors you don't always have to replace. I think that's kind of a misnomer. You don't have to replace them if they're not giving you trouble, if they're not leaking. And that's pretty much, you know, a lot of people like to do them anyway. It depends on what I'm working on. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. It's really a gut feeling kind of thing for me. You know, it's not that they're expensive, because they're not, but it is time consuming, and it's not always necessary. And a lot of times, when you recap something like this, in some cases, but not all, you end up replacing high quality capacitors with low quality ones. You know, because they were made pretty well back in those days. Sometimes. All right, I think we're good there. Since I'm here, I'm going to pull the boards out, and we're going to look at those too. That's a pretty easy job to do once you're in this far. Just undo a couple of screws. I'm going to need my desolderer, so I'll let that warm up. I had one case where one of these radios came to me with all kinds of problems, and it just couldn't be fixed. It started developing issues while I was working on it, and I just scuttled it, unfortunately. Sometimes you have to. You know, they're not the friendliest to work on. I don't like these. I've said that enough. I don't like these radios. But this is what makes the Miata community happy, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I have to do. Whether I like it or not. Because I got a job to do, and I'm going to do that job. All right. So, if I recall, this whole thing, oh yeah, we gotta desolder a couple of round wires. You gotta desolder those, or at least this one. And on the other side, we'll get to that one later. Alright. And this whole tray just kind of comes out like that. Put the shell aside. So I found this guy another faceplate. The one he's got is pretty nasty, so we're going to replace that. His screen has some damage to it. I've got a lot of these radios that I've scrapped, so I've got some parts in quantity, bigger quantities than I wanted. So we'll just try to reduce those numbers a little bit. Put this one out. Forgot one. I mean, the thing is, the Panasonic isn't a bad radio. It's just a poorly made one. It's made cheaply. That's basically it. You know. And pretty consistently, though, I found that most of the problems are fairly consistent across the units. And it's also important to know that there are two versions of this radio. There's the 1161 and the 1297. They're not the same radio. Well, they kind of are, and the parts are mostly interchangeable. The 1161, if I recall, does not have a power antenna lead or circuit, whereas the 1267 does. And that's the key difference. So if your car was equipped with a power antenna, oops, you can't just swap in. The antenna just won't work. But I do believe they're pretty much the same otherwise. So that's good to note. Let me just get this out of there. I suspect that originally the Miata was not to have a power antenna, and later on they're like, oh wait, we want to kind of go a little upscale, so they just kind of created one that had that feature. All right, let's dig a little deeper here. So yeah, these three look a little iffy. So I just shipped off those 3 radios, by the way, are on day 2. And it's like watching my children grow up and leave the house. I've done so many of these. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. looking at them at a different angle, and yeah, they do kind of look a little weak. That's all right. That's what we're here for. Okay. The other board, the tuner board, is usually where I see the most problems, so we'll take a look at that next. And okay, here we go. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at these each and every joint, and I'm visually inspecting it based on the lighting position. It actually changes things. And so it might look good under some light, but you shift it around a little bit, and then you're going to find a break. That's usually how it goes with these, sadly. So far, so good. So far, so good. All right. Yeah. That should be fine. Okay. All right. Well, now we're ready to reassemble the chassis, and then we're going to move on to our Bluetooth modification. All right. I got the Bluetooth installed, and I have some good news. I figured out that on this model stereo, as long as it has an antenna power port, I can power the DROC Bluetooth module off of the antenna power. And what that does for us is, watch that light right there. I'm going to turn the radio off, and the DROC module turns off with the radio, which is perfect. We don't need any remote switches. It is like the best solution. Turn the radio on. Now, I believe if we put it on cassette, that will turn off automatically. But I'm getting very little to no interference. It sounds excellent. And I'm ready to button this guy, almost completely button this one up, which is amazing. This is probably the fastest install I've ever done. Learning mistakes from past installs and kind of constantly evolving my installation methods. That's how we do better. That's how we grow. All I got to do is button up the wiring, and also I'm using a very thin wire because it doesn't intrude. There's enough room behind this amplifier between these two pieces to fit those wires. But the wires that come with the module are too thick. They're way too thick. So we're going to use this model instead. And it's looking pretty good. I'll probably have this radio done tomorrow. If the cassette deck survives, which I think it will, I should have this one done as early as tomorrow. It's pretty cool. I've got all the lamps. I got to take the display or the faceplate apart, wash it up, and get it nice and pretty. Yeah, baby. All right, so I made a few improvements to this one. So the module is now mounted underneath the audio board here, and you can actually hear a little bit of this interference. It's inevitable. I can't get rid of it entirely, but I was able to reduce it by adding by grounding the audio to chassis ground. I did this one entirely differently from all the other ones I've done, and it was for the better. Like I said, I'm now powering it from the antenna circuit. So when the tuner comes on, the module comes on. And of course, as always, it just goes into bypass mode when it's not in use. I want to tear into one of these cassette decks on camera, and I've got a gentleman out in Germany, I believe, who I mentioned earlier. He was trying to repair his deck, or is going to try, and I want to show you guys what I typically do for these. I'm trying to put myself out of business here, but there are some things that should be common knowledge. And not everybody is willing to take on a job like this. You know, they'd rather send it to somebody, and that's fine. Okay. First things first, we throw the belt away. Okay. I'm not going to waste our time with that. Now on these on the Panasonics, the cap stands come right out. On the Pioneers, they're held in with a circlip. That is a pain in the ass to install and remove. These are easy. So what I do is I just take these apart and I just clean them really good, polish them up. Same thing with the other one. Just clean them real good. Get a nice, good, clean cap stand. Now this gear is a little tight, so we want to get that off too. I believe this is your mode selector gear. That is held in with a circlip, and you should be able to remove it without any worry about getting it out of time or anything like that. The thing is with the mechanisms like this, some of the components are timed. They have to be lined up with the other gears and other components. We're not going to be able to get this out completely. That's okay. What I want to do is just gently lift it up. The correct thing to do would be to remove this too. So we're going to do that. And then we can get it out completely. So this circlip's got to be removed. If I have one go flying, that's okay. I've got spares. I'd rather not use them, but they're there when I need them. I'm going to gently remove this spring. Put it back exactly the way we found it. This has to come up, like so. And now we can take this gear out. This is the wrong tool. Let me use this one. I can shut the radio off. I don't need to hear it making noise here. But I'll actually lift it from two ends. So we're going to just kind of gently, but it's a little tight. There we go. You'll notice how this lever has to be lined up with the outer ring of this. This is a cam gear, by the way. So there's a lot of really crappy lubrication in this, which we want to deal with right now. I'm going to just kind of clean all this up here. Yeah, just do a little bit of house cleaning, whatever. Now you also notice that there is this pin. Oh, this is all very stiff on this module. Yeah, it's all very stiff. Let's see what we can do for it. Yeah, the other side is kind of dirty in there. For the cassette deck to function, it's got to be free running. Everything's got to be, pretty clean. Lubrication does come up. Now this was from Southern California, so you can imagine that it's seen some heat and for long periods of time. But what we're gonna do, I am not gonna tear the whole thing apart. Just not gonna do that. So let's do what we can do, right? Take a little bit of our polyolefin grease. We're gonna kind of get it in there. Try to get it to work its way through. What that's gonna do is it's gonna help soften the existing grease. To be honest, most folks won't be using these. I repair these decks for most of the units I work on, almost all of them so far. And yeah, most of my customers will never use them. It's just, I do it because I believe in preserving the functionality. When it leaves my shop, it should work as it left the factory. That's my motto, or that's my MO. That's how I roll. That's a lot better. Yeah, that's a lot better than it was. So that's going to ride inside this track when we put this gear back on. See how it's a little tight? We're also going to do is we're going to take the wooden stick of our Q-tip. We're going to just take a random one. Oh, these are hygroscopic. You can't can't get any alcohol on them. But I'm going to just go ahead and just use the stick to clean any old grease out of here. Like that. And that should free it up. Oh yeah, that's way better. So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of our new grease in there. Kind of paint it in. Just like so. Get it on the outer edge as well. And so remembering that this is going to ride on the outer edge, and that pin in the middle is going to ride on the, let me see here. Let's see if we can get it right here. I'm going to have to, see if we can get it to drop in here. There we go. Okay, so now that's all working all right. And then this is going to lock into the, there we go. That should do it. This triggers it to release, just like it's supposed to. Yeah. And the more it gets used, the better. So this little lever can go back. What I'm also going to do is put a little droplet of, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's going to cause problems. But we'll put this back in. And see if we can do it right. I believe this goes in behind that. Go the other way. No, it goes this way. I have reference parts that I can use if I need them. It's, you know, it's always good to have those things lying around when you need them. Actually, I think I'm going to need to do that. Let's see. Maybe it does go this way. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. So this, okay, yeah. So that rocks like that. I'm pretty sure that's going to be what it does. And then it locks. That goes like that, and then that's supposed to ride in the grooves. Yeah. Let's pop the circlips back on. All right. Now you can use something like clock oil on pivots that are metal, but not nylon. No, not nylon, but a metal pivot, a little bit of clock oil, not going to hurt anything. You don't want to mess with this stuff when you're dealing with nylon, because nylon will react with the oil. It will shrink. Not a good time. Not a good time. All right, so the purpose of this spring, if you just kind of look at how it's put together, hold this component back. I got it backwards there. Make sure I don't put that on backwards. So the purpose of that spring is to keep that piece in position. Okay. We're going to put this circlet back on. There we are. So now this mechanism should work as advertised. I believe it's supposed to cause that to draw in like so. Yeah, there we go. All right, that's it. That's that part. All right. So next, I'm going to pull the gear train off that drives the eject process. Now, I find that having a cassette tape in the unit is probably the best thing to do. So I have a cassette tape that I use for that. It's just a generic tape. And what we're going to do is we need to temporarily power the motor. So we needed to temporarily power the motor. We may not be able to because it's frozen. So let's see. Let me just shut my power supply down, bring the voltage down. I power the motor with about 6 volts DC. And if I can't overcome the drag, I'll increase it a little bit, and then if it doesn't, I'll just take it apart the way it is. It's just easier to time it that way, you know what I mean? All right, so the motor that we're working on is over here. That keeps getting stuck. All right, so I'm gonna see what happens. Okay, nope, nope, nope. Oh, it's trying. Yeah, it's locked up solid, so that's all right. What we're going to do is just take it apart, as we normally do. There's one screw that holds this on that side and one screw on the other. And no, they're not intercompatible. Sorry. I'm just going to pop it off. I've had pretty good success with these over the years. Over the year, it's only been a year. I've had fairly decent success with these restorations on these decks. They all have the same problem. It's pretty predictable. It's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to have these issues. So get used to it if you want to be a player. All right. Now we should be able to, there we go, drop the cassette in there, which unlocks that. Now I can get that apart. Okay. Let's see. What did I just do? Sorry. We're going to manually cycle it anyway at the end. And I'll show you what that looks like. So these gears are solidly stuck. 2 reasons: dried up grease and nylon shrinky dinky. Yep, I just lost a circlip. Flying. You gotta watch out for that. That's alright, I got spares. This gear is locked up solid. Just kind of gently remove it. In some cases, you can just clean off the oil that's turned to honey. Just clean it off. And then replace it with new stuff. But in really bad circumstances, you have to literally, oh yeah, this might be okay. Yeah. The rest of these locked up solid. That little one is the worst one. You're going to take up a lot of circlips. Put your finger on top of it so it doesn't go nuts. There we go. Got it. Put that on the rag. And we'll try to pull this one off. Ooh. Ooh. She's stuck. She's stuck. No. There we go. So sometimes the grease just turns to honey and you've got to remove it. Sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this Slick 50 supercharged lube here. I'm going to spray the center of the gear. We're going to take our wooden dowel and we're going to ream it out. That's going to remove any oil residue bit. Don't worry, we're going to put real grease in there after. Throw that away. And let's do the other one. Got this little, it should not be, don't know what that goes to. Okay, gotta clean that out. Now, take our cotton swab. We're gonna just clean off with alcohol, just clean these posts off. How about the others? Oh, they're locked up too. I mean, this is really just, they're all locked up. Except for the motor. The motor's fine. That's usually a good thing, right? I'm gonna take another gear off. I'm gonna gotta take these off in order. We're gonna take the cam gear off next. That one seemed to be all right. This one's not locked to the shaft. That's good. Take another swab. Clean the other one. Just kind of clean it up. That's good. And these two. Now, funnily enough, this is a sintered metal gear. It is not going to give you the hassles that the other ones do. It's just a metal gear, solid. That's a joke. There's a game called Metal Gear Solid. Anyway, let's take this circlip off. There we go. Pull this gear off. Again, locked to the shaft. There we go. There we go. You don't want to break the gears because, well, you don't want to do that. It's just not advisable. You don't want to break those gears. Okay. Now, the only thing that these gears do is load and unload the tape. That's it. These are not for the transport. These are not, or the mode selection. They're not for tape reversal. They're just do one thing, and that is it. So if I take this gear, well, let's get this one off first. I'm going to take this one off. Look at that. And also honified grease. Term I just made up. It's turned to honey. Honey does not make a good lubricant, but it's great on toast. And chicken nuggets. When did McDonald's stop doing honey with chicken nuggets? I mean, it's the dumbest thing they ever did. It was so good. Okay, so I'm going to switch up. Alcohol's not really doing us any good. Oh, that's water. I got the wrong container. Huh. Whoopsie doodles. Like, no wonder it's not working. It's freaking water. You can't clean these with water. See? Look at that. Oh. Can't clean them with water, but you can clean them with alcohol. Maybe I should go to bed because I'm tired and screwing this poor thing up. There we go. Yeah, you can use alcohol, but not water. Water's not a good cleaner. It doesn't clean anything. I don't care what Better Homes and Gardens says. So we'll just use that to clean up our shit. Now let's see how these gears spin now that they've been basically degreased. Oh, where's my... Get another one here. And I just run this through the center of the gear. Kind of let the alcohol absorb any old oils. It works. And I don't argue with results. Look at that, nice and free. This one here, same deal. Kind of works a lot better when you put alcohol in there, you know. Dry it up. How about the other one? So let's test each gear to see if it turns. Actually, no, this one goes over here, upside down. That one's going to be fine. The little one over here, nice, nice, nice. if you're a real hack, what you could do is you could actually you just put a little bit of WD. No, don't do that. WD-40. That's another misnomer. WD-40 is not a lubricant. It is a cleaner. It is good for cleaning. Bad for lubrication. Not long term, anyway. Yeah, I don't use it. I use it for cleaning and cleaning up metal parts with steel wool. It's good for that. Not a lubricant. No, and the reason is, I mean, it'll free stuff up for a little bit. It will free up, rusty assemblies, rusty equipment hinges, and the squeaking will disappear for a little while. But give it a little while, and it's gonna turn right to it's gonna turn into like a wax. Not what you want. So we're not gonna like load it up with grease. We're just gonna brush a little bit of grease on there, and see if I can remember how this goes together. Like I haven't done enough of these. So I believe that this little guy, this little cute guy, goes there. This one goes here. But we got to put this one in first. Me first. There you go. So that one meshes. Oh, I have it upside down. No, I don't. You got to put this one in here, like this way. Actually, no, I think I got this wrong. That goes like that. That one goes like that. Right? There we go. That one goes like that. Okay. I'm going to put this guy. Some of these have a little alignment hole. There's a hole in the gear here. See it? That hole should align with this hole. Okay? Remember that. So before you put your final gears in, make sure that it all aligns, because if you don't, I don't want this mesh. I don't want this mesh. That's concerning. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. There's actually, some of them have 2 holes, some of them have 1 hole. I like the ones that have 2 because this one that's kind of like at a 45-degree angle right here, that's going to be your alignment hole. That's important later. So we're going to get it in, so make sure these things spin freely. It does. Okay. Let's spin it around a few times. Everything's good. Yep, nice. Okay. Now we can start putting some of our split washers back in. Okay. If you don't have a washer for this one, it's okay. It's not going anywhere. Line that up like that. Don't mind the washing machine music. There we go. All right. So now your gear train should be good to go. Now you can just smother everything else with a little bit of grease. Reduce noise, reduce wear and tear. Just gonna get it everywhere. All right, we'll get some in there. Okay. So now the fun part. You've got to get the mechanism freed up. Now this one is a little tight, so I'm going to take some rubbing alcohol, not filtered water. I'm going to just kind of clean up the tracks a little bit. And yeah, I'm going to have to get in there with a Q-tip. Gonna clean up all here. Clean all that up. And then we're gonna, I gotta clean the head. I got a little bit of grease on the head, so we want to clean that again. And while we're in here, we're gonna clean the pinch rollers. Clean the tape path. There we go. And I'm gonna clean the pinch rollers like this. What I do is I hold the this is a, by the way, a medical grade swab. And I hold them at a 45-degree angle while I'm spinning it against the pinch roller. I don't use rejuvenation solvents or anything like that. I just use alcohol. And what it does is it helps to remove any residue or oxide, exposes good clean rubber underneath. And these pinch rollers are in good shape. They're not mangled or anything like that. Sometimes I see these with pinch rollers that are actually pretty ugly. These are not in that category. These look pretty healthy. I've had some cases where the pinch rollers are actually stuck, and I freed them up, and without any issues. I use at least 2 Q-tips or 2 swabs per roller. The reason for holding this at a 45-degree angle is because it provides a scrubbing action. It also rotates the pinch roller. And if you hold it with your fingers like I'm doing, a little bit of pressure on it, again, you're cleaning and you're rolling the pinch roller. So that looks a little brown. It's not too bad. Okay. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of grease on my brush, and I'm going to just kind of gently get it into some spots where it might provide a little beneficial lubrication. Making sure not to have any globs anywhere because you don't want to create problems, you want to solve them. All right. I'm going to now pull the mechanism forward. And we're going to apply a little bit of grease to the tracks. There we go. Just a film of grease, nothing crazy. And the nice thing is with these, if you have a DC power supply that puts out around 6 volts, oh, I got a little bit of grease on the tape path. We'll have to clean that off next. What you can do is you can just power cycle the mechanism. You have to do this. You've got to power cycle the mechanism before you mount it to make sure that your timing is perfect. That is a critical step when working on one of these decks. I've learned that the hard way. One of the things you don't want to start doing is taking them apart and putting them back together repeatedly. It's bad for, well, it's just bad. Just don't do that. Just don't do that. Now, what's interesting is the Panasonic cassette deck. I've noticed the head doesn't physically flip around when it switches from one side to the other. On the Panasonic, the head stays stationary. It's actually a better design, but the head is stationary, and the it has two heads in one. The Pioneer head is a single-sided head that physically flips around. It's motor-driven. Kind of a backwards design. I gotta say, the Panasonic mechanism on the face is probably the better of the two. But the Pioneer, I find, is the most reliable, as long as the belts don't fail. Another thing is the Panasonic is a single belt unit rather than a 2-belt or a 3-belt in the case of the Pioneer. It's really a catch-22 because, you know, Panasonic builds a more simple mechanism, but they fail in the worst way. The gears just lock up on them. Whereas the Pioneers, the belts fail in them. So you got to kind of pick your failure mode. Which way do you want it to fail? All right. So what I found with these is you want the, hold on a second. Hold on. That might not be true at all. So we're going to put it in we're going to reset it into this position. Okay, that's the parked position, that's tape out. And we're going to put this assembly in. And what you've got to do, I'll show you what happens if it's not timed right. So the object of the game is you want the heads to be retracted, or the head to be retracted, while it's in the 45-degree position. I believe that's how it works. So what we've got to do is get this rack to line up for starters. Let's do that. So you're going to have an issue initially getting this back together, because this gear, this top cogged gear, is supposed to rack in with the row of teeth that drives the mechanism. Okay, but that's often the hard part. And these are a bit of a challenge. I'm not gonna lie, they can be a slight bitch to work on. I don't like doing them, but I have to. We can try to reposition the motor a little bit. No, that was too much. Let me turn my voltage down. There we go. See if we can get it better lined up here. No, that's not right. Let's take this back out. You're probably going to break a few wires off. Let's try to get it back to that position, the starting position. Just a little bit more. Okay. Now you know that there was a factory jig. Oh, I just thought of something. What you can do is you put the tape in, right? And then you manually pull the heads back, right? Oops. There we go. The tape is in, it's in the play position. We don't have a pinch roller or anything in there. We should probably put those in. Let me just do this here. Get those in there. Oh, a little bit of lubrication doesn't hurt either. So we'll put just a tiny dab of grease on these gears here. And just a smidge on the shaft. Make it run a little smoother. There we go. That's probably enough. It'll spread around as it gets used. All right. Okay. So we're going to draw this little lever here. We'll draw the head up, and you can. There we go. Okay. So this is, I believe, our starting position, and you want this cam gear lined up with that pinhole as best as you can. I have a little metal pin here we can use as a guide. Okay, so that's not right. So let's cycle the motor a little bit until that falls through, just like that. See that? Like a magic trick. I believe that is the factory alignment hole. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. Let's put a dab of grease here. A little bit there. A little bit there. Awesome. Okay. Let's see if we win. Yeah, that lines up okay. Yeah, that That goes in okay. You just pull that, draw that back so that it falls in. All right. Okay. And yep, good. Good. We're in. So now we're just going to put the center screw in. And this is the fun part. This is how we check our work. Because if this works, we're good to go. All right. So if the tape ejects without hesitation, without drama, then we've done our job. If not, you gotta go back to the drawing board. I'm gonna bring my voltage up to 6 volts. And I'm going to power the motor and we're going to cycle it through. Okay, wrong way. See how it clears the head? So the head is drawn back. We need more voltage. About 7 volts. Draw it back in. See how everything just locks in position like that? Cycle it a few times for quality control purposes, and you'll be fine. If you do what I just did every time, you won't have a problem. If you just do what I say, remember that alignment hole. That's it, man. Okay. Now we'll just reset our transformer back to 12 volts. Pull the tape out. Put it together. Now these spin nice and free. Make sure there's no lubrication sneaking through on the shaft, and you're good to go. Wasn't that fun? Now is the part where we put the belt on. Now I have just ordered a bunch of belts for these. And it's going to be the 8.9. The 8.6 belt is for the Pioneer. And the 8.9 is for the Panasonic. I found they are not the same belt size. So, oops, whoopsie, whoopsie doodle. Let's try to do this right this time. I have a belt supplier that I use, and they've never failed me. Make sure there's no slippage. Belt's not too tight. Should be good to go. All right. Now the belt is installed, we want to make sure that we have some adequate lubrication on the on this cam gear here. And I'm going to do my brush. So without getting the belt oily and greasy, I'm going to just kind of pull it aside here, and I'm going to just kind of brush a little bit of oil and grease on that, and do it over here too. Okay. That's it. That should be fine. Put a little dab of grease because this rides on the back plate, the bottom plate. So just put just a little bit of grease on that. Get our plate on stored, and we're going to test it out. Yay! All right, that's going to slide into there. That's going to slide into there. This tab does sit on top of this plate. That is not a mistake. That is how it goes together. Let's see, we got these. 9 times out of 10, yeah, this usually works. Now, I've had some situations where the cassette decks have failed, and they do not work even after all of this. I'm finding this is a new thing. I didn't see this early on, but I'm seeing it now as people dig into their scrap piles for radios to be fixed. I'm finding that a lot of these end up with faulty micro switches. So if you fix it and everything's working and you bump the radio a little bit, just kind of bump into it, and it starts to go nuts. Well, that's because the micro switches are getting flaky in some of these. There's a couple of them to worry about. Number one, you've got one right here. Now this is the tape in sensor. This senses whether the tape is in or not. You've got, I think there's another one here. And that one, I believe, is for the, I'm not quite sure what that one's for yet. I believe that indicates a successful load. Whatever the case may be, if either of those micro switches goes haywire, it's not going to work. Yeah, it's probably going to give you some problems. So, okay. Which way does this one go in? It goes in this way. So this is the mounting bracket. This is also the interface board. This is not immune to breakages either. I have found oh my god, look at that. I got 3 already. Let's put it together and then we'll fix them. Yeah, broken solder joints galore. Oh my god. The only thing Panasonic is good at is making bad solder joints. Who would have thought? But we'll fix her. Glad I found them. So that's another thing, is you got to look out for that. You got to really, really, really pay attention, because that's going to sink your battleship, you know. We've got an extra screw here. I'm not sure where it goes. We usually have extra screws. That's not my thing. Let's go back and see if we did the right thing. I think I put some of the screws in the wrong spot. Hold on. Yeah, let's take this back off again. It's another thing, long screws. Pay attention to your screw lengths. I'm always checking my work, like looking around. Okay, what did I do? Why do I have these screws? I shouldn't have those screws. Anyway. Yeah, so those are, yeah, we need the short ones. Short ones go here, like that. And this one, no, that's the right length. That one can go here. And this silver screw is a unique size. It's actually shorter than the rest. That goes there. And we got all the perimeter screws in. But I do still have a short screw that no, I'm good. That solved it. Okay. Let me fire up my my heating equipment here. Soldering iron. And I'm going to just take a quick scan for broken joints on here. Nope, good. We're good there. We do have 3 in a row. Tic-tac-toe. On this board. And you guys are wondering why I charge what I charge. This job right here, I'll just tell you. I don't like to discuss pricing on YouTube because it varies. And some people are going to be very judgmental because they're going to think that I'm ripping you off, but I'm not. This is a $275 job. It's kind of like that. That's what I charge for this particular customer. That is what he's going to pay for all of this work. And that's bottom line. That's what I charge. That's what it costs. And so, if you don't want to pay that kind of money and you want to try this yourself, I encourage you. Because at the end of the day, I'm sacrificing my entire night. All of my time, all of my free time is now doing this. Which I don't mind doing. But I don't do it for free. And I'm not doing it for $50 either. Yeah, so... you know, if you're watching this video and you're this far into it, congratulations. I charge for my time. Bottom line. Okay, we got a hot iron. Let's fix these solder joints. Yeah, we got tic-tac-toe, man. 3 in a row. Not good. Not good. Yeah, right there. Right there. Let me prop this up. All right. Yep. I don't work for free. But, you know, the thing is, none of my customers have ever actually complained about pricing. So, I figure it must be fair. $275, and you can't buy one of these radios for that. Well, maybe you can. The sensory sound system work, that's more money. That's a lot more money, actually. That involves a lot of paint work. The materials costs are a little higher on those for the paint reason. Yeah, paint isn't, it's not the paint that's expensive, it's the clear coat. It's $30 per can. So I can do, if I can line up a bunch of them, you know, I can aggregate that cost across a couple of radios. But the timing is not always working that way. It doesn't always work that way, timing-wise. Because, you know, I might get a Pioneer sent to me, and then I'll get a whole bunch of Panasonics, and then I won't see another Pioneer for a couple weeks, and then some will just randomly show up. So, you know, it's just the games we play. All right, let's drop it into the machine. Make sure that I'm not pinching any wires, because I've added wires where there were no wires. That's new wires. Okay. Now you gotta be careful, because there we go. It's gotta line up perfectly to drop in without bending pins. So let's see. Let's double check and make sure the pins aren't bent. No, they're not bent. Nothing's in the way. There we go. Let's make sure that those wires aren't in the way. Ooh, wouldn't that be something? Back to the drawing board. I think they are actually. No, not really. Oh, that did lock in. Okay. So now we'll just put some retaining screws in place, because we got to flip the deck upside down. It's now what? It's like 11 o'clock now. I've been doing this since I got home from work. Can you believe that? I got home at 5, had dinner, took a shower, straight back to the office for some more grindage. That's the wrong screwdriver. What am I using? That's fine. We'll put the other screw back when we know it's good. I've had to take these apart before multiple times to check out some stuff that just didn't quite work like it's supposed to. So, all right, fire it up. Okay. Upon power up, the cassette deck should do a quick, it's like a self-test kind of thing to make sure it's like a readiness test. I got this bad company tape that I just picked up. We'll see if it works. Draws it in. It plays. All right, you know what? This one, no good. It doesn't really work well. It kind of works. But the mode selection is iffy. See if it will reverse direction. The program button. Okay, so it stalls on program selection. Hear it? It might fix itself. Yeah, it seems to be getting better. It's struggling though. Yeah, it's trying. And then it gives up. Yeah, the mode selection is iffy. What could that possibly be? Well, a lot of things. That could be a lot of things. But I think we know what we need to look at, and I'll probably review it tomorrow and kind of take another look at it. But that, my friends, is what I go through when I look at your radios. We're not done. I'm not going to film the rest of this, but I've got to take the faceplate apart and replace every lamp and polish the screen. This is the faceplate he's going to get because it has a better screen than what he had. And I will be offering that to him at an extra cost. That is not free. If I have to replace any parts, they do cost a little bit. But that's only because to get another one, I have to scrap a radio. So. Yeah. So it's not free. Not for me. Okay. See, it's the mode selection is... Alright guys, I found the problem. The problem is worn teeth. Yeah. This tooth is just... So one side works, one side doesn't. Let me demonstrate that for a sec here. Put these back in for effect. I'm going to manually cycle. I'm going to pretend like I'm a solenoid here. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to hold this. So when, depending on what it's doing, it's supposed to hold this down until it starts to ride in the groove. And watch, it stops. Now this lever, when activated again, is supposed to unlock it. And then again, unlock it. Oh, it's working now. Try it now. I can get it in the groove here. Watch this. It stops. Unlock it. It stops. Get it down in the groove again. It rides. It stops. It unlocks. But if I want to go one more time around, it locks. Oh, now it wants to work. All right. I think I figured it. Okay, I figured it out. You know what I think it was? You know what I think this was? These aren't the same. No, they appear to be exactly the same. No difference. But it's working now. I think I can put this issue to bed. Let's try it again. Again, manually cycling. Okay, it stops where it's supposed to. It unlocks. Stops, unlocks. Stops, unlocks. And it rides outside the groove. Working fine. Okay. Interesting. Not sure what I did to fix it, but it's working now. Okay. All right. Let's reassemble it. Ship it. Okay, I think we licked it. think we got it going. So to do that, shut up. Okay, to do that, we have to set that to frequency. We're going to get ourselves a 3000 hertz tape. And we're going to run a 3000 hertz tone through it. Oh, it's at 10,000 hertz. Yeah, it's a little slow. Yeah, it's a little off. We got to raise the motor speed a little bit. Doing that outside of the deck is a bit of a challenge. You can't get to the adjuster from here. That's a little slow. I don't think Butterboy likes that sound. But that's good enough. That's the end. Let's make sure that it doesn't change when I flip it around. Because sometimes I'm running it upside down, so I can just pop it out, pop it in, pop it out. Flip it around, it could go south. So let's see. That did affect it a little bit when I flipped it around. So we're going to nudge it just a tad more. Bingo. Nice. That'll do it. And that's the last we're going to see of this radio. You'll notice I did change the color as the customer requested. I removed the bulb caps from all the lamps, including the display, which changed the color to an amber color. Now, you'll notice the screen still has a bit of a green, kind of a green background to it. It's not really green. It's kind of greenish, like chalkboard green. The bulb cap only changes the color of the text or the digits. It does not change the background of the screen. So this is without any bulb covers. You'll notice that the yellowish glow may actually be a side effect of the aging filters and the aging buttons. Kind of works out perfectly. No need to buy amber bulb caps, which is what he wanted to do initially. So this thing is running great. I've been listening to it as I'm kind of cleaning up my office a little bit, and it sounds amazing. I just love it. I kind of want to put it in my car, but I've already got an MSSS in mine. Like I said earlier, we're adding now I made a few running changes. Every one I do, I kind of learn a few things. There's little things that come up, and then you realize that there's better ways to do certain things. So it's kind of an ongoing learning experience. No two radios are alike for the most part. There are some processes that I nailed down early on, and I got them perfect. One of them being the display refinish, or the refinishing of the Pioneer radios. But the Panasonics are kind of an ongoing battle. You see different challenges with each unit, and I think I finally nailed it down to where every radio that leaves my shop is going to be like this one. Powering the Bluetooth module off the antenna eliminates the need for a remote switch. So that was one of the biggest complaints I got from my earlier Bluetooth modded Pioneer or Panasonic customers, was they didn't like the switch. Well, you don't need them anymore. That's no longer necessary. But, live and learn. And yes, we can change the color of the Pioneers. Gosh, I am always mixing the two up. The Panasonics, we can change the colors completely on the Panasonics. It is not really an option on the Pioneers. We can change the backlighting on the illumination of the buttons. Cannot change the display. At least we can't change the main display because the filter is built into the display panel, and I can't take that apart without possibly destroying it. So I won't be offering display color changes on the Pioneers. Not now, not in the future, not ever. but we can do it on the Panasonics. All right, now let's get this one boxed up and shipped. This particular customer sent me a prepaid shipping label. Now, by doing that, he saved himself $25 and possibly got a better deal on shipping anyway. So, you know what? If I wish more customers could do that, it would save me the hassle of having to pay. I do charge a flat fee of $25. That $25 is built into my price structure. So when I quote a price, let's say $425 including shipping, I'm really charging $400, and then I'm adding on $25 to go towards shipping. Shipping always costs more than that, but I had to come up with a number that I can stick with and be more predictable. International shipments are at cost. So whatever the shipping cost is, you pay that. But I do international as well. I do more international than I thought I'd be doing. But onward and upward, guys. Thank you for joining in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is going to be long. So, till then.